Okay, Nick and Andy, the big one at Old Trafford this weekend. Manchester United against Liverpool. Once again, these bitter rivals clash, this time in the FA Cup quarterfinals. Liverpool are going for the quadruple. Man United really need this. Obviously, they want to scupper that quadruple chance for Liverpool, but for their own season as well, Nick Mendola. This is a massive game for Manchester United in front of their own fans and for their manager, Erik ten Hag, as well.
Yeah, here's your chance for a trophy. That simply boils down to that. And frankly, we've seen it before, even with clubs that big, that in a manager's tenure, that trophy gets you that little bit more time than maybe anybody else. I mean, not as big of a club, no offense, West Ham fans, but David Moyes couldn't go anywhere after what happened last year there. And I don't think the opportunities get any bigger than right now and this game. And hey, Erik ten Hag beat a emotional, driven, top of the table-ish Liverpool team in an FA Cup quarterfinal. That's the sort of sign that says you're on the right track.
It really is. And I think obviously winning the League Cup for him last season was huge and almost gave him that extra time to keep building this project at Man United. And I think if United just get to the FA Cup final this season, that would be another step in the right direction to say consistently getting to cup finals, in and around the top four conversation. But Andy, I guess with all the conversation behind the scenes at Man United of Ineos coming in, ripping up the structure, a lot of focus on how they finish the season on the pitch for Ten Hag's future. I mean, what do they need here? They obviously need to win the FA Cup and then finish at least in fifth to potentially give themselves a Champions League spot. Would you say that is the, I want to say minimum, but like that has to be the aim for Ten Hag, right, in order to keep his job for this summer and beyond?
Yeah, the only reason I hesitate to say yes is because there is new ownership involved. And so there's going to be, there already has been kind of a change in vision for the club and how it's going to move forward. And that might include Ten Hag, that might not. That might include him if they don't finish fifth. That might not include him if they do finish fifth. There's a lot of things up in the air this summer, I think, for United that are not only going to get settled for next season, but I think going to answer a lot of questions long-term going forward. And do they have people in charge now who are looking to build something sustainable and for not just next week, as United have tried to kind of paper over cracks for a long, long time. I will be a bit of a stickler on something you said, Joe. Liverpool going for a treble, not the treble. I think we should distinguish between the two because it's Europa League rather than Champions League. Rebecca Lowe made a similar point on the lowdown a couple weeks ago, and I thought that was very smart. So we should differentiate between those two things.
Well, it's a quadruple. It's a quadruple.
A quadruple, not the quadruple.
True. Okay. Yeah, if it's four. I feel like if you win four, that kind of almost is level with the treble. But it's the Champions League is. Yeah, you're right. That's the big one. I totally get it.
Yeah, but for Ten Hag, I wonder. If I was a United fan and I'm looking at the way that his 2 seasons now effectively have gone, I don't know that I would want him to win the FA Cup and buy himself more time. I think I would almost rather just start clean. And Ange Postecoglou said something real smart a couple weeks ago. He was asked, how much of a target is it for you to finish 4th this season and get into Champions League this season? He said, I don't really care. We're building something here. If we're not building towards finishing first, if our goal is to not finish first, then what are we actually doing here? And I understand that there's progression and money involved and everything, but I think that mentality from the manager, the head coach of the team, being given directly into the first team players, I think that's a big difference in or not a difference, but I think that's how Spurs have set up going forward. And I think United needs someone with a similar mindset like that, that's not going to just accept we could finish 4th and get back into the Champions League. Someone that really, truly, not just wants to, but has the foresight to deliver United back to that level.
Yeah, I think watching them in recent weeks, it's almost become apparent. Yes, they have injuries, but it's become more about the results and the performances for Erik ten Hag, playing the counter-attacking style that a lot of these players are much more comfortable playing in as they were under Solskjaer before him, and that's just how they like to set up and operate. Seems to have found a bit better balance in attack. I mean, they're still getting up a lot of chances, and if they give up anywhere near the amount of chances this weekend against Liverpool that they did last weekend against Everton, then they're going to get punished ruthlessly. I mean, Onana's stood tall and been really good the last few weeks, and United need him to do that again, but they'll be hoping he's not too busy this weekend, because if he is, then I think they're going to be in big trouble against Liverpool. Nick, speaking about Liverpool, the quadruple hopes, as we spoke about, they're well and truly on. Obviously, playing Sparta Prague in midweek Europa League, rotating this very injury-hit squad. Jurgen Klopp said we're not really prioritizing the Man United game of the weekend. We're going to figure out, go strongest lineup to strongest lineup each game, and just kind of go game by game now. A, do you think that's the right approach? And B, do you think with their momentum and the attacking power they have now, especially with Salah back, that they have just too much to overwhelm this kind of banged up and slightly disheveled Man United defense?
Well, no, I don't think they have too much. I think they probably have enough to do that. Let's be real. But look, there's something here that is bigger than the stats and bigger than the numbers, and we just keep seeing it out of Liverpool. I'm so impressed with the way that they played against Manchester City. They deserved 2 wins for that game. Like, nobody makes Man City look like that. Facts. Nobody makes Man City look like that over the course of at least 50 minutes of that game. And I just kind of look at Liverpool, and I think they're a little bit in that zone of whatever we win this year is awesome. This is the one game I could see them in any other scenario not prioritizing. If it was not against Manchester United, and there's nothing. Jurgen Klopp loves an Anfield celebration, but secretly when he walks into the team room, doesn't he love being the spoiler at a big place? And there's arguably no bigger place in the history of the Liverpool Man United than this rivalry, right? So I think to keep this game on an even plane with the rest of them is absolutely fair. Now, if the semifinal is less tasty and the Premier League title is on the line the next week, that's where the question comes into play.
Yeah, it really does. It's so finely poised right now. They've rotated so well over the last 2 months, really, with all the injuries, that you kind of, or it's been keeping everyone hungry, right? And the players know they need to step up in certain games. So you almost, Andy, don't want to lose that squad and everyone in mentality that they've created.
Yeah, and that goes back to another point I made this week when we were talking about Arsenal being second favorites for the Champions League. Everything that Arsenal have done, concentrating so many of their minutes in 12 or 13 players. I think it's just 13 players that have over 1,000 minutes for them in the Premier League, and they've got 6 or 7 that are well over 2,000. You look at the way that City have done things, almost identical. That's not a surprise. Arteta coming from the Pep finishing school of managing, that they would have similar ideas on how to use a squad. Now, I know some of it has been forced upon him because of the injuries and everything this season. Liverpool have 1 player over 2,000 minutes in the Premier League this season, compared to 6 and 7 for Arsenal and Manchester City. That's Virgil van Dijk, by the way, who's been healthy for the entire season. But I think that speaks a little bit more to the depth and the options that Klopp has. He was forced into using a number of them in recent weeks, but they managed to get the results that they needed and to keep things ticking over and remain right there in the title race. And so I do wonder that between a combination of having better depth down the stretch of the season, more players that he has recently called upon and could still do, but also having players fresher because they don't have quite as many minutes on their legs at this point of the season. If at some point we might see Liverpool just kind of pull ahead, or maybe blow away from the pack a little bit, because they've got that extra gear still to go to.
Yeah, I think in midfield, it's really interesting. Endo, McAllister, Szoboszlai, clearly the go-to 3 there. Now it seems, the way they played against Man City, but just trying to keep them all fit and healthy. You can obviously rotate likes of Elliott into that midfield, obviously Curtis Jones when he comes back from injury. So there's options there. But I think looking at this game, Salah against, probably looks like Lindelof is going to play left back again for Man United. That looks like a bit of a mismatch, but Lindelof has played well in recent weeks. But Salah came back against City. Obviously, there's a big reason why that they dominated City in the second half of that game with him being back on the pitch. Maybe Dalot goes to left back for United if Wan-Bissaka's fit enough to play at right back, just to kind of counteract Salah and the impact he can have. But I think that's one key area where obviously whoever comes up against Salah is going to have a tough time. And I think United may really struggle in that area of the pitch. Score prediction, Nick Mendola, anything else you wanted to mention about this game?
Yeah, look, I wish I knew for sure how fit and fresh Salah was. Like that's to me such a big thing here, because you are missing just a player at each level you have been missing that are going to be coming back, whether it's Alexander-Arnold, Alisson, or Mohamed Salah. I actually think, I don't know why I said I'd never pick them again. I really like Manchester United to come out of this with one of those Eric Ten Hag discussion point wins. And I'm actually going to predict 2-1 to Man United.
Wow. That would be huge. I mean, they did draw at Anfield, right, Andy, earlier on the season. They frustrate Liverpool sometimes. I mean, other times they've been blown away as well. But this kind of has everything set up for Liverpool to be frustrated a bit and United to use that counter-attack we've seen in recent weeks to, be clinical. But what do you think, mate?
I think that's what will happen. I'm with Nick. I have 2-1 to United, probably late. It won't be the prettiest game. The uglier it is, the more it suits United, and the more they take Liverpool out of the way that they want to play, and really making the game fast. If you can make it a kind of a choppy game, I do think United have the ability to do that. I think they've shown a willingness to do that as well. And when you're a big club like that, it almost feels like you have to give up something to play that way, to compete with the big boys. But they're willing to do it now, and I think that they will surprise some people this weekend.
We haven't talked about one thing: fate. The quadruple situation, the way that Liverpool have just been driven towards this with Klopp leaving at the end of the season. That's what I'm going, same scoreline, but to Liverpool. I think 2-1. I just think going forward, they have too much for United. I didn't really like what I saw defensively at all from them against Everton. Unless Onana has another incredible game in goal, just see them giving up a lot of chances, and Liverpool going to take them. So it's going to be a tight one, though. These games usually are. And it's going to be really interesting, of course, in the story of the season for both of these teams. This is a massive one for Liverpool, man. It's always a massive game, but so many storylines swirling around this one. And head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest information on a massive FA Cup quarterfinal. Manchester United against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Doesn't get much bigger than this.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.